We can dance if you want to. We can leave your friends behind, because your friends don't dance, and if they don't dance, then they're no friends of mine.
Kill it with fire!
Hello, everyone. I want you to know ahead of time that Antwon has been imbibing a little bit. So if I'm a little extra this evening, I don't apologize at all. You're just going to have to fucking deal with it. But I have been told that I'm going to be introduced to people today. So I'm looking forward to it, or not looking forward to it, depending on what it is.
I wouldn't look forward to it.
No, I'm not supposed to look forward to it.
Let's just say these are the Korean versions of the Andrew Tate boys.
Oh, so you have decided to torture me.
Yes.
While I am on my way to being absolutely hammered.
Yes.
You are evil.
I thought we
I
already
love
knew
you
this.
to death, but you are evil.
I thought we already knew this. I mean, I am yours and Ishtar's cat, first and foremost. And you said all your cats are evil. So...
I also want to point out that you are showing shoulder.
Yes, I have my normal outfit on.
You lush.
I could have put on a bralette. It was in the closet. I thought about it. But then again, I'm like, no, I really don't want to be banned from Twitch. Hi, Mask.
So Mask says the Misogyny Brothers is that, yes, Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate are exactly that. Apparently now Andrew Tate has this super flashy, overly done AI-created commercial for his course on making you rich.
No.
Yes, and it's cringy as hell.
He
And
really went full alpha boy?
Yes.
Ugh.
And I have to say, anyone listening, even on the playback, listen, if someone is trying to sell you something,
Run.
And there is no physical product for you to hold on to, you are the product. And if you buy said course, you become the new sucker. And I would suggest you don't do that.
So Antwon
No one listens to me.
Antwon just gave us a lecture about not joining MLMs.
Oh, if you want a lecture, I will give you a lecture about MLMs. I don't think Andrew Tate is giving you an MLM. I think Andrew Tate is just giving you a course that costs $50 to $150 so he can teach you how to get rich quick. Now, what most people teach you how to do is drop ship. Do you know what drop shipping is?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, for those of you who don't know what drop shipping is, it is very simple. You buy a bunch of cheap product from Amazon or eBay or something like that, and then you resell it. That is drop shipping. You take no responsibility. You take no action. They can't fight you. They can't get refunds from you because you're not a real thing. So if the product that you give them that you are quote unquote offering doesn't match what they're expecting, they can't get a refund from you. Andrew Tate and Tristan Tate teach young boys and ignorant, idiotic men how to drop ship. Not only do they teach them how to drop ship, they teach them how to mow lawns and things like that. $50 a month. 50. And apparently, according to the Tates, they have over, I think they said 150,000 subscribers. 150,000 times 50 is a shit ton of money that people are giving to these ignorant idiots who have charisma and that's it.
All of a Sunday, the Honda boys don't look so bad.
The Honda boys?
Not Honda, Hyundai. It is a city in South Korea. This
It
city,
is also a car.
no, that's Hyundai, not Hyundai.
Isn't it pronounced the same way?
No.
Oh.
But anyways, the city is very similar to like what Las Vegas is here. Full of clubs, full of bars, places for people to go. Gambling is illegal in South Korea, so no casinos, minus the casinos. It's
That's
also
okay. I'm not allowed in casinos because what happens is I can manipulate the computer stuff in the slot machines, and it's considered cheating.
Anyways, these boys, they like to hang out in those areas to try and get foreigner girls. They're like the Korean fuck boys, but instead they kind of more or less like alpha bros. They think that they're the best of the best, and they use lines like "You like BTS" or "You live alone," "You open-minded."
You open-minded because I am.
And the one problem with Hongdae is after 2 a.m., the trains stop running. So you're kind of stuck there until 7 o'clock. And these guys prey on girls because of this, specifically foreigners.
I mean, all right. So you know what passport bros are, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so they're reverse passport bros. They just
Yeah.
they want to have fun with foreign women. Like that's what we. I mean,
Put your number in my iPhone 16 Pro Max.
there isn't a hue red enough for the color of that flag. Is very, very true. Like when someone says, "You open-minded," I open-minded. That's not good. That's not good. That's something that
perfect.
shouldn't happen.
I perfect. We perfect together.
You stuck here till 7 a.m. I stuck here till 7 a.m. You sucky.
But yeah, they have become a huge meme across TikTok. But originally, it was started just from a bunch of people amongst the K-pop in the K-drama areas, warning others to traveling to Korea to know about these. And then the exchange students came over to Korea from the States. We're talking
Not
about
the exchange students.
we're talking about your students from like Harvard, Yale. They ended up in there, and now you can see how predatory they are. They're a huge meme to the point that somebody who absolutely hates the city of Honda, like seriously has turned the whole persona of the Honda boy as a whole meme and his whole like skit. He makes fun of it hard, and I love it. But yeah,
So I have to ask a question. I think it's South Korea that he's in. Do you know who Johnny Somali is? Do you know what he's doing in? I think it's Korea
Japan,
now.
he's in Japan, and oh my god, I want to beat his ass.
Okay, so all right, so it's Japan. I thought it was Korea. I thought did he? No, he got kicked out of Japan. They kicked him out. He is in South Korea. He is under arrest in South Korea. They were smart they made it so he can't stream, so he can't, but they didn't arrest him and throw him in jail, so he still has to pay for things. But he is apparently facing 25 plus years in a Korean prison. He has spawned copycats. Vitali is not necessarily a quote unquote copycat. but he started doing the nuisance streamer thing in the Philippines. Do you know how much Filipinos in the Philippines hate Americans? Do you understand the idiocy it takes to be an American to go over to the Philippines to, I kid you not, prank a Filipino police officer by stealing her motorcycle?
Oh my god.
The Philippines doesn't fuck around. They arrested Vitali, and he is already on trial. If he is convicted, he is going away for 15 years in a Filipino prison. Johnny Somali, Vitali, and all of these other fucking nuisance streamers need to disappear. Like there's a sect of Russian streamers that are called garbage streamers, and they will do whatever for donations, right? One of them was actually convicted of murder because he pushed his drunk girlfriend outside in sub-zero degree
I
temperatures
remember
for
that
30
story.
minutes in her bra and panties.
Mm-hmm.
And then he panicked when he brought her back in, and she died 5 minutes later.
Yep. I remember that. Honestly, people like that makes me cringe when I tell people I'm a content creator because I'm not like that.
Yeah, they give every creator a bad name, not just live streamers, or not just daily live streamers that go through their day-to-day thing. They give everyone who creates content a bad name, not just a bad name, but like the worst name possible. Like they are, I hate to use the moniker, but they are the Hitler of Twitch streamers.
You're not wrong, though. I honestly
So
can't stand them, and I understand exactly why Japan wants to close their borders again for tourism, because you have situations like that jerk face and his stupid speaker, and then you also have these people that are throwing their trash anywhere and everywhere because they can't find a trash can because they don't understand how the culture works, and they're destroying cities and without respect. They're touching the geishas because why not?
you're not supposed to touch the geishas.
No,
There's
you're not.
they're supposed to be pretty. Now,
Yes.
there are places that you can touch them, but those are in the red light district of most cities, and they want you to touch them for a certain price. So these car boys, you have videos of these car boys. I'm going to call them car boys because
I just want.
it reminds me of that, and I'm going to keep it that way. They are car boys from now on.
Well, I don't have a video here to show you. I wanted to talk about them so you could have another group that you could make fun of, I guess you could say.
I'm still trying to get through editing this last book.
Good
and
luck.
then I will be able to make content again. I don't know how good it's gonna be, since I haven't streamed or put out a video, I think, in over a year. I may have lost my. Maybe I'll just get drunk and go on stream, and that'll be my return. Who knows? Yes, people do stupid shit for views.
Yep.
I read some of the worst books possible for views. That and fun, because it's fun to make fun of stupid stories. There was a in my Discord, I have to read you this book title. This is an actual book title, and Zeo Gold posted it in my Discord, but I have to read it. You should be. All right.
I was about to say that that, Ishtar. He trapped us and forced us to listen to one of those stupid books.
I didn't force anyone to do anything that they did not want to do. All right, are you ready for this? Because this is the longest book title I think I've ever heard, even longer than some anime titles.
That's kind of long.
Oh, you'll understand. Are you ready?
I guess.
You're not ready. You're not ready for this. Bisexually banged by these sentient plastic Easter eggs who eat me out from both sides while I'm in a standing position, which is a pretty cool move. That is a real title to a book.
Oh my god.
Do you want to know who the author is?
I'm scared.
Chuck Tingle! Zeal Gold shared these in my Discord. There was that one. The next one he shared was, I went on a hunt for the Easter Bigfoot, and now he's eating my ass. Oh,
Ishtar!
this one is even better. You getting dirty with my sentient lesbian washing machine.
Help!
It is a title. Trust me, I've seen the picture. What is it? There's one more. This
I
box.
need a Nerf bat to smack you.
This box of bisexual chocolates get me off for Valentine's Day.
And you're done.
Well, he only shared 4, but those are the 4. And he said in the caption that Zero Gold gave was, glad we don't do Cringe Book Club anymore. Otherwise, we would have to cover them. No, I don't have to cover anything for Cringe Book Club. Maybe I'll bring that back. But anyway, I don't have to cover anything. If you pay me, I will read this book. But I'm going to drag Ishtar into it to do voices for this book, and it's going to cost you.
I'm scared. I'm terrified.
Psycho says I'm not drunk enough for this. Trust me, Psycho, neither am I, and I'm on my way. So, again, going back to the Carboys.
Circle back to the all night boys. they look like your general one-of-the-mill alpha 1% dudes wearing the rich stuff. Like, they have that look to them.
Look, you have to say what type of look you're talking. Are you talking about the too tight button-up shirt with the popped collar? Oh, and the skinny jeans that try and show off their no ass. Look, Andrew Tate walks around in his fucking apartment shirtless in front of a bunch of other dudes. I'm sorry to tell you this, Andrew. You're a homosexual.
Most of the alpha boys are homosexual in the closet, refusing to admit to it because of their own biases. Stigmatism. I don't know which one it is. It's something of those. Their own hatred. Bias.
Mask Druid says, I'm not kink shaming, just kink asking why. that is a valid thing to look at Chuck Tingle's books and go, listen, my dude, I know for a fact you have yourself a niche, which is weird, badly written porn. How do you come up with this shit?
ChatGPT?
Very possible.
Maybe I'll send you some videos of the Hyundai boys.
No, don't send me videos of the Hyundai, the car boys. I'm not gonna. You're going to make me annoyed enough to where I'm gonna write a script about these people, and then I'm gonna have to fucking make a video. Listen, I agree. Mass Druid is onto something though. They're like Myron Gaines. Myron Gaines is the gayest man I've ever come across. He look. He's got pictures of him cuddling in bed with other men, and he explains it away as he was on a football team with high level competitors. And have you never been on a football team like college football where the guys get half naked when they're away and cuddle in bed with each other? Have you never done that? I know I've never fucking done that, and I played football.
Wait, whoa. Hold up.
What?
You played football?
I did.
Did not picture you the type to play football. I picture you the type to be on the marching band, to be honest.
I did that too. I played the clarinet as badly as anyone could play a clarinet, but I did it proudly.
I swear I track clarinet players.
I also played the flute, which should tell you something in why Ishtar is so happy with me. I'm really good with my tongue.
Did you play the flute first or second? Was it before?
Second. I played the clarinet
that's
first.
Different. Most people that I know play the flute first, then the clarinet.
No, I wanted to torture people with the most god-awful screeching noise possible. Because if you suck at the flute, it just sounds like you're blowing air through a windpipe. It doesn't make any noise. But if you suck at the clarinet, it makes a high-pitched screeching noise that people can't stand. So me, as a young Antwon, went, I can use this. I was even on television.
Color guard's better.
But yes, I played football. I started off as offensive line, and then halfway through the season, they put me as a linebacker on defense. And I would probably still be playing football to this day if my own teammate in the very last game of the season, during pre-practice, fell sideways into my leg and severed 3 of my ligaments.
Owie.
Yes, I had to have orthoscopic surgery at 15 years old. And now and it started giving me arthritis at the ripe old age of 30.
Do you feel better?
No. Because as I was saying, Myron is a flagrant homosexual who follows Andrew Tate, who said it was less homosexual to sleep with a trans woman than it is to sleep with an ugly woman.
Yes, he did say that. It has been repeatedly shown on all the TikToks and YouTube Shorts and Instagram Reels to the point he has been annoyed by the edits.
Good. I hope he gets more annoyed. I'm still blocked by this jackass. You understand that, right?
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't tag him in his stupid commercial for his fucking joke of a class. So I had to go into the comments in the replies and find one of his dumbass students who said, "Oh, Andrew Tate's going to make hundreds of men, thousands of young men rich and powerful." Listen, dumbass. The man is rich because he was given money as a child, not because he fucking earned it. He was a failure as a kickboxer, and he's a failure as a reality show star, and he's successful in duping young men into believing they can be another version of him just because he's charismatic. and he has money. He doesn't even own his fucking cars. He rents them. He rents his house. He went to Dubai and started making people believe that he bought a house, a mansion in Dubai, and more cars. And it comes out that he just rented them through a company.
Sounds like he can
Yes.
make really good friends with the Paul brothers.
All right, I have to admit something, and you're not going to like me for this, but there is a reason. I have to admit, I like Logan Paul.
Okay. What's your reason?
Because he is an amazing wrestler. He is really good in the ring, he is really good on the mic, and he is engaging. I like Logan Paul in WWE. I'm sorry.
I'm going to keep my opinions about WWE to myself and off camera.
I have been a fan since WrestleMania 7. I can't not be a fan. I'm sorry. You can hate Vince McMahon all you want. I'm perfectly fine with that. He did some awful, awful things. But the product in itself is something I enjoy.
I am going to keep my mouth shut about the organization and my opinions on camera. We'll talk.
Why? We can talk about. We can talk about.
No, I can't.
Why?
Reasons.
All right. Does it have to do with the lawsuit?
There's a lawsuit.
You didn't know about the lawsuit?
No.
There is a lawsuit that I don't know if it's been still going on or if it's been settled. But Vince McMahon was said to have done some really awful things. Shocker, I know. To a woman, like he paid a woman to basically kind of paid her to be willing and able for higher ups and certain wrestlers. Now, hold on. The only reason this suit came out is because Vince McMahon stopped paying her. So she sued him and leaked everything. And there are some higher ups in WWE that partook in this particular arrangement, as well as a very prominent wrestler. And the way that the lawsuit described this wrestler, it was very easy to understand who it was. And then it kind of went silent. So I don't think anything's actually happened. There's been a whole documentary about it on Netflix. Like Vince McMahon was fired from his own company after Tony Khan. I think Tony Khan bought it and merged it with UFC, and now it is TKO Holdings.
Interesting.
I hear you typing. Are you typing to me or are you typing to the chat?
Neither.
Masked Druid says, I have a massive girl crush on Rhea Ripley. Listen, Masked Druid, everyone has a crush on Rhea Ripley. There is no one... Look, I can show a picture to Banshee right now and she'd be like, God damn. Everyone loves this woman. So, but if you don't want to talk about WWE, that's fine. But that's the only reason I like Logan Paul. Other than that, I think he's a piece of shit. But that's... I enjoy his work in WWE.
Yeah. Anyways.
Back to the Cowboys. You said you were going to send me... You said you were... But Master Druid, you're not wrong. That ass on her is magnificent. Not as good as Ishtar's, but it is magnificent. And probably should be, turned into a statue and put someplace for people to worship. She could start her own religion. But
yeah, so I take it you are not in the state to read things?
no, I can read. I can read. I can read just fine. I just I have a bunch of Reddits that I can read and we can go over. I have to find them. Hold on. There they are. Because there's one that I want to read right away, and it's very short, and it's just titled "I Lost My Virginity to Water." What? I mean, like showerhead, pretty
I'm
powerful.
so confused.
I agree with Ishtar. The religion of Rhea Ripley, I would be a steady churchgoer. I would. That woman is ungodly amazing. Do you know who Rhea Ripley is?
Mm-hmm.
Am I wrong? Are you not? See, that's what I thought. All right, I'm going to snooze that. We're going to snooze the ad break. No ad break right now. So this is from r/funny stories. It's called "I Lost My Virginity to Water." And I have questions. And hopefully this one paragraph, will answer things. I, 16 female, a few years back, went on a camping trip with my family like we do every year, and every year I bring a friend. We decided to go boating that day, and my friend and I wanted to go tubing. That's a dumb thing to do. And my grandma was not holding back. She flung us off the tube so fast that I did like 7 cartwheels over the water, and the water shot up my ass at 90 miles per hour. And I screamed, "My ass!" It's in all caps. I have to emphasize it. And there's like 4 exclamation points. And my family just laughed when I got onto the boat. I had to pull my swim bottoms to the side because I couldn't stop violently shitting myself. I hurt so bad. My butthole and my sides were cleaned out by dirty lake water. Well, if it's dirty lake water that wasn't really cleaned out, it seems like you were dirtied up. We had to end the boating trip earlier because I couldn't stop crying because of the pain. When I got back to the camper, I was screaming and crying while shitting myself on the toilet, and my asshole was bleeding because of how hard the water shot up there. I
Well,
don't know if that doesn't make you a non-virgin.
no, it doesn't, but it definitely cleaned your ass out. Literally.
I mean, she got an enema.
Yeah.
She got a dirty back alley enema from a massage parlor that promised it would feel good.
Yeah.
In the form of her grandmother throwing her off a boat.
Yeah.
So no, you didn't lose your virginity. I thought it would, like when I started looking at the water thing, I thought okay, it was going to break her hymen or something like that, and she got de-virginized by the water. But it went up her butt. I don't think it went up her butt. All right. Next. Okay. This is also from r/funny stories. That's one way to scare off religious solicitors.
I'm scared.
I'm interested.
I'm terrified.
before we get into this, so we don't have a fenced off backyard,
Okay.
right? We do have like fences behind us for our neighbors behind us. We have a fence on the right hand side of us, which is chain link for our neighbor there, and we have a fence on the left hand side of us, but we don't have it closed off for our own personal yard.
Mhm.
We were in the back doing work in our garden. That is not a euphemism. We literally have a garden in the backyard, and we were working on it. And apparently, we didn't hear the Mormons. They had knocked on the door on a bright, warm, sunny morning while we were working in the backyard. They came to the backyard. They just walked onto the property into our backyard because they heard us working back there, and then proceeded to talk to Ishtar because she's too nice to tell them to get the fuck out. But we did use them for manual labor because they wanted but they offered to help. So we're like, yes, we need help moving this soil into the garden beds. So they helped us move the soil, which was not light, mind you, into the garden beds. All the while talking to Ishtar about religion. And she even said that, she's not very religious, but she believes in a higher power and things like that, which I agree with. That's fine. But they didn't get the hint that, we don't want to talk to you about religion. Thank you for helping us move the soil, but get the fuck out of our backyard. They were dressed in their white button-up shirts, ties, and slacks. And they didn't get dirty, which I'm very impressed with. But anyway, that's one way to scare off religious solicitors. I know a good way of scaring them off. Ishtar won't do it though, and that's just answer the door naked.
My daughter answered the door with her snake wrapped around her, and that scared one.
That is an image that would set that would get me to second guess coming into the house to talk to people. All right, so back in 2011, I was majoring in theatre arts at the local college and was in the theatrical makeup class. It was the only class I had on Fridays, and I frequently came home in whatever I had done that day in class to show my dad. I'm already not believing this story because it's on a Friday.
Oh, a lot of theaters and art stuff happens on Friday and Saturday.
Oh, no, I believe they were in theater. I just don't believe that the religious thing happened on a Friday because it always happens on a Saturday or Sunday. They take the weekend.
Moisty in chat. I would have asked because pretty sure there was one time that they came on a Thursday at the house and he was here, but I don't have Moist in chat to figure that out.
It was the week of Halloween, and our teacher was teaching us bloodies, gore makeup, and my horror-obsessed haunted house scare actor, Fleet Street is the best stage blood, boasting self was going wild. While most of the other students did a burn, a few bruises, maybe a gash on their arm, I made myself look like roadkill that also got mauled by a bear.
I know where this is going. As a theater kid, I knew from when the blood was sucked. I love it.
It was a lot. Enough to get me pulled over by a concerned campus cop when I was leaving. I went home covered in fake blood, looking like hell, and loving it. My dad told me to keep it on so my niece and nephews could see when they got there after school. They knew I had makeup class. I wasn't going to scare them. So around 2:45 p.m., I hear a knock at the door. Well, I decided to answer like a zombie to make them laugh.
Oh, wait, did he get stabbed? Wait, they don't carry
Oh,
the stuff like
hold
that.
on.
Never mind.
I should note, I realize I should have probably checked to make sure it was them. I answer the door slowly, dragging a foot, moaning, brains, to see two Jehovah's... Oh, it's not even Mormons, it's Jehovah's Witnesses. Go green and absolutely bolt back to their bikes. Okay, so it's not Jehovah's Witnesses, that's Mormons. Mormons ride the bikes, Jehovah's Witnesses walk. I literally was still processing what had just happened as they peeled around the corner and my brother showed up with the kids. To this day, my dad says he sees them actively avoid our door and once heard them refer to it as the home of the devil.
That's great.
So I am someone who absolutely adores Halloween. Okay, it's one of my favorite holidays. Early on, I realized that going out trick-or-treating was not for me anymore. So me and one of my friends, my best friend at the time, decided we were going to put together a haunted house real quick. Like, when I say real quick, I mean 10 minutes before sundown, real quick. So we used to make home movies. No, you cannot see any of these home movies. They are not on the internet anywhere. He has the only copies. And yes, I have a copy of a full-length feature film that we put together ourselves, but it does have like commentary over it. No one gets to watch it. Deal with it. Anyway,
Even if I was to come over and visit?
even Ishtar hasn't even seen it yet.
Damn.
Okay? So, we did this 10 minutes before sundown. We came up with the idea that the way that my house was set up, if you like, you're looking at my front door, there is a garage door to the left and a patio to the right. Inside the garage door on the left, and when I mean garage door, I mean like literal door, not like big garage door. Inside the doorway, there was a washer and a dryer. Now, we had one of those, and I'm saying this because I'm old, but at the time it was new, motion sensor activated Halloween decoration. This was before Spirit Halloween showed up. This was like, oh, you go buy it from Target. So we put it on the washer.
I would like to point out that Spirit Halloween has been around for quite some time, just mostly in the East Coast, like how their Spirit Christmas is right now.
This was before they were a big thing on the West Coast. I'm old. I understand this. Anyway, we put this thing on the washing machine and we tested it out. Basically, we tested to see if we accidentally bumped into the washing machine, would this thing turn on? And it would. And it was this like evil laugh. And its eyes lit up and everything like that. So I got on my mom's graduation gown. I was still able to wear it. And I played a professor. You know, I know, just go with it. All right, just go with it. The story of this haunted house. Now, we did have the bowl of candy in the garage as well. The story of this haunted house is, you've seen The Shining? Yes?
Yeah, I've seen it.
She says as she's stuffing her face. So the story of this haunted house is that I had caught Jack and he was in my garage. Now, I had to go in there to get you the candy. Don't make any noise, and we won't alert him to our presence, and I can get you the candy safely. So, of course, I'm building this up as I'm leading them towards the garage. I open the door. It is pitch black in this garage. I had no idea where my friend was going to come up or show up or anything. I had no clue. I don't know when he did it, but he had somehow found a hatchet.
Oh
Like a
God.
legitimate hatchet. So the whole thing is I go in, I try and get them candy. Before I get them candy, I accidentally hit the washing machine. It lets off the noise or the sensor, which scares them a little bit. And then my friend rises up out of wherever he is. This went on for a few hours. We got a few trick-or-treaters. We got, like, the street where we were on was not like a big Halloween street, right? Lots of houses, but a lot of the houses had dark lights. They didn't decorate, things like that. We did. So we got a few trick-or-treaters. I remember this like it was yesterday. Is the ad over?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, another one just started.
I have to fucking do this in a minute and a half. Fuck you, Twitch, and your ads. So this is a family that we had kind of talked to down the street. It was a nice black family, mom, dad, like 4 kids. They came up to the house. I'm doing my spiel, right? And I open the garage door. I'm saying, we caught him. I trapped him in my garage. I'm waiting for the police to come. Now, as far as I know, he's sleeping. So all we have to do is be quiet. I can get you the candy and we'll be fine. And you can go on your merry way. The father comes in first, right?
Mm-hmm.
Followed by, I would say, if I remember correctly, a young girl who is like 10, followed by her 3 brothers who were, I think, 5, 6, and like 8,
Oh no.
right? So I'm telling this story, and I accidentally, quote unquote, accidentally bumped the washing machine. This is where the hatchet comes in, because I didn't know he'd found it. This activates the noise sensor, and my friend raises up like he was on a fucking lift, looking deranged, holding this hatchet.
Oh no.
That father's fight or flight took hold,
Oh
and
no.
he chose flight. Not only did he scream, "Oh shit," but he climbed over his 10-year-old daughter, pushed his 6-year-old son out of the way, and was down my driveway before I realized what was happening. And I had to stop the kids from screaming and running away to give them the candy.
Oh,
After I
God.
gave them I was on the floor. I was laughing so hard. I could not breathe. It is the best scare I remember from just that simple thing that we threw together. About, I think it was, it was June, and I saw him on the street. I was walking home from work or something. I don't remember. And he goes, "Are you going to do another haunt? Are you going to do another scare thing for Halloween? Because that was amazing." I said, "I wasn't, but I am now." And we got to be known as the street with the haunted house. Because that very next October, we did an actual haunted house. Like, they went through the front, not through the garage, but they went through the front, past the patio, and a wraparound backyard. So it was, we in each year, we did it for like 4 years. Each year we got more and more and more people. It was amazing. So yeah, I made a girl pee herself. I scared her so bad. And it was something very, very simple. So we had a tarp over the exit, and it was lifted up, and you couldn't really see what was up there, but it would drop down, and it was like ghosts. And we had a thing. As the host, it was my job to lead them through. I get halfway there where they get the candy, and they think they're safe because, well, we get candy. It's over now. No, no, no. It's not over. You still got half of the haunted house to go through. So we scare them a little bit more. I run back to the front, back around, and I grab this string and I let it go, and it drops down the ghosts and everything. And this girl screamed. I had been to Not Scary Farm that year, and I learned about something. I got a tin can. And something that Not Scary Farm performers did was fill that tin can with something noisy, like coins or rocks or something that made a lot of noise. So I filled the tin can with a bunch of change, and I wrapped duct tape around it, and I could hit something with this tin can, and it made a loud bang and loud rattle and everything like that. So this girl is coming through, and she thinks she's safe, and she sees the exit. The things drop down, she shrieks, and then I come around and I bang this tin can up against the exit gate. And I said, "Did you have fun?" And this girl screamed bloody murder, dropped right there on the ground, and peed herself. She was at least 16 years old. She got up and ran. I went, "There's nothing I can do in a haunted house now that is better than this. I will remember it for the rest of my life." How did we get on Halloween?
You were reading Reddit, and
Oh,
it said bloody Halloween stuff.
I'm going to need something more to drink soon. I have more. Do we want to read more, or what do we want to do?
We have an hour, so if you want to read more, let's go for it. Or I can give a
Reading.
lecture onto Psycho for his comment.
For what comment?
When am I not stuffing my face? I like to point out I have anorexia.
Oh no, that's bad.
Yeah, you know that. I don't always stuff my face. Honestly, a lot of people lecture me on eating.
I don't lecture anyone on eating because I enjoy food.
Yeah, well,
I am a chef.
you have lectured me on not eating, I should say.
Well, yes, and then you told me, and I still apologized and said you still need to eat something to, keep your energy up. I wasn't mean about it.
I know. But my point still remains.
All right. This is a very,
Anyways.
very short. This is a very, very short one. Dyslexic stripper.
Oh, God.
My husband and I were.
Master says we might need a new square on the bingo card for drunken antics.
Listen, I don't drink a lot. And what's
Yeah,
even
but
better,
Reddit, we could get a lot of drunken stories too.
very true. It annoys the shit out of Ishtar. We used to do drunken gaming together, and she is such a lightweight. I'm not. So that tells you, for those of you who want to know, my favorite drink of all time is an AMF. If you don't know what that is, it's called an Adios Motherfucker. There are 5 very strong alcohols in it, and it's got sweet and sour in it to give it some flavor, and some 7-Up / Sprite. It's like a splash. It's like, here's some carbonation on top. The reason it's called an Adios Motherfucker is because if you have one, you're buzzed. 2, you're drunk. 3, adios, motherfucker. You're not supposed to really remember anything after that. I have something very, very interesting that I have yet to have happen to me ever. And I have tried. I have never had a hangover. Ever.
That's genetics. Or
When
you're
I
really hydrated. One of the two.
No. When I say I've tried, before I moved up to Washington, I did a drunken stream. I think it's still on my channel. I did a drunken stream where I was drinking straight alcohol, like doing shots of vodka, flavored vodka. I was doing. I didn't hydrate. I didn't eat. I got so fucking shit faced that I'm playing Overwatch and I'm walking into walls. Like I'm blitzed. My ex, Gwen, at the time, was keeping up with me. She was hungover and drunk and just threw up, headache, the whole thing. Me, the next morning, I woke up like nothing fucking happened. Ishtar and I started doing drunk streams. She wakes up after a pretty serious drunk stream where we played, what's the bomb game that you have to defuse the bomb, but you have to be in 2 different rooms?
I have no idea.
It's a fun game, like it's a puzzle game. I can't remember what it's called, but every time we screwed up something, we had to take a shot. Ishtar is miserable the next day. I, fresh as a fucking daisy. Like, I cannot get a hangover.
Again,
and I have
genetics.
tried.
I have that gene. But I have a very terrible gene when it comes to alcohol. I may not get a hangover. I have Asian flush. Yay.
Ishtar turns into a woo girl. Ishtar is very funny with alcohol. So with whiskey, she turns into a woo girl. With rum, she gets very, very, very flirty. With tequila, she gets slutty. And vodka, she gets angry. Like, I don't know why, but those 4 separate alcohols affect her differently.
It's a very, very common for people. That's actually the very common emotion thing. That's if you're somewhat of healthy in the mental state area.
So I like giving her rum, and I also like giving her whiskey. Because it's funny watching her turn into a woo girl. Because she gets very, very animated about things.
I have a tendency of going off on certain people that needs to go off if I get drunk, especially with Jack.
So, all right.
So
Dyslexic
stripper.
Dyslexic stripper. This is a very short one. When I mean short, it's like 3 sentences.
Which is probably going to take 20 minutes to do.
My husband and I were watching reruns of the Antique Roadshow.
Oh, God.
How is this going to deal with a stripper? The theme music is kind of jazzy. The music was playing and my husband starts dancing suggestively while also zipping up his sweater. Me. Love your skills, but strippers usually take clothes off when dancing. Him. I'm a dyslexic stripper. Keeps dancing. That's not how dyslexia works, but it's funny. Instead...
Oh my god. People are weird.
All right, I do have some Am I the Asshole? Let's see, what do we need for a bingo? Your animals haven't said hi. Why haven't your animals said hi?
Toothless is asleep. The ferrets are asleep. And I have no idea where the cats are because they're all trapped down here. And I have no idea why the dogs haven't said anything.
So throw a cherry tomato at the ferrets. It'll wake them up. I'm trying to get you a bingo.
Oh, there's no way I could get a bingo right now because all I need is grandbaby calls me mommy and wrongfully times somebody out and I have a bingo. And I can tell you right now, I'm probably not getting either one of those, especially the bot because, well, that's been fixed.
We could still go for like controlling family or tries to set up significant other with someone else, and Ishtar and Deaf Banshee play in the chat without Antwon noticing. Look, that's a perfect time for you two to start doing that because I am really like my focus is on like 12 different things right now. So just saying. I'm not saying that I'll pay attention to chat. I'm just saying that it's a possibility.
It's always
Especially
a possibility, even when you're sober, let's be honest.
especially if Ishtar gets me a vanilla Dr. Pepper with Kraken spiced rum in it.
I love how it looks like Antwon's a little high.
That's because I'm moving around too much for my camera to fucking follow. All right. I'm
Antwon's
gonna read.
high and drunk, and Matt is just drunk.
I'm going to read these.
Are you?
I am. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend his body hair looks terrible when he tried to shame me for having a bush? Now, are we talking like
That's a
normal?
boyfriend, though. That
Are we
sucks.
talking like normal bush, or are we talking like 70s porn star Afro bush?
Doesn't matter.
Because there are some people who are into that thing. I'm not one of them, but there are people who are into that.
There's people into all of it. I mean, even the one that's on waiting, where it's all got crap inside of it. There's people in all of that stuff. There's a kid for everything. I'm not wrong.
I know exactly what you're talking about.
I love that movie.
Waiting is actually a really good movie.
It
The
is.
sequel, not so much.
I agree.
The sequel was god awful. All right. I am 26 female and reside in. Oh, hold on. Yes. Oh, I need like a glass.
You have one right there.
Yeah, but it has stuff in it still.
I'll bring you a glass. Good Lord.
She just brought me the entire bottle of Kraken rum and a Dr. I thought she was gonna give me like it in a glass. No, here, drink the whole bottle. Let's see how far you go. To be fair, there's not much left in it. I probably could drink all of it. I'm not going to. Kraken rum is really good. For those of you who don't know, it's worth the money. It's very
Take
smooth.
a sip of Dr. Pepper, then take a sip of the rum,
Give me the
mix them
glass.
in your mouth, you'll feel fine.
Thank you.
So we're having a Threads of Truth after party stream, apparently.
All right. So this is a very simple drink. You know how there's a Jack and Coke, right? Jack and Coke is very simple. It's just Jack Daniels and Coke.
I'm gonna let you know I used to be a bartender, so have fun telling the stream, the chat, because I'm sure there's not many bartenders there.
This is a very simple drink that I enjoy. I call it an adult. Well, this would be an adult vanilla Coke, but this is an adult vanilla Dr. Pepper. You just put the vanilla Dr. Pepper in the Kraken rum, and it's an adult vanilla Dr. Pepper. It's very tasty. It's very good, and it will get you smashed. That sounds like I'm going to the bathroom, so I'm going to change that. Sorry about that. Twitch, I was not using the restroom on stream, I promise.
Don't mind me, I'm just choking on my own tongue.
See, it's very tasty. But it doesn't take a lot to mix. You know, you do like a shot's worth of rum, spiced or unspiced, it can be up to you. And then, you do the regular amount of Coke or whatever, but you do it the flavor. I haven't done cherry yet. I'm not a big, I like cherry Coke, but I'm not a big cherry and alcohol type person. So, all right, let's read about the bush. I haven't shown Ishtar waiting, but she won't watch it. Ishtar does not like gross humor, and there is a bit of that
There is a bit
in
of it.
waiting.
But it also
But
very
good
much
movie.
it is a good movie, but it's also very, if you've ever worked in the service industry, definitely
I
touches a
have.
lot of that shit.
Yes. Always remember the golden rule. Don't fuck with people who handle your food.
Don't fuck with people who handle your food, don't fuck with your nurse, don't fuck with your dispatch, and always be nice to the random person on the street.
All right. Am I the asshole for telling my boyfriend his body hair looks terrible when he tried to shame me for having a bush? I'm going to say no, you're not the asshole already, just as prediction, because if you're showing your boyfriend your bush, he should be appreciative of it. Moving on. I am 26 female and a resident in anesthesia branch?
Anesthesiologist.
Okay. My work schedule is heavy. Though in some years I will earn well through. Why are you writing like this? What is wrong with you? Though in
Probably
some years.
dyslexic.
Are they a stripper?
Oh my god.
Though in some years I will earn well, though. And I barely get time for going to parlor, etc. They're not American, are they? Anyway,
Probably not.
as I just want to rest on Sundays, note, I'm a very well maintained girl who can't write, but I'm very well maintained and like to keep myself groomed, stylish. My boyfriend, 28, is a civil engineer.
That's an
He was,
interesting combination.
I know, right? He was at my place and we got cozy. I'm not super hairy, but had some hair down there. After we had fun, he told me he got disgusted by hair down there, and why am I not maintaining my hygiene? Note, I keep myself super clean, and before we got cozy, I took a bath and applied lotions. Ladies, do not apply lotions down there. It will mess with your bacterial intake and can cause problems. Your whole system down there is an ecosystem that takes care of itself. That is a health hint from me to you. Anyway, I asked, did he smell something? He said those hairs look bad and he likes me smooth. I will get to this in a second. I'm going to read a little bit more. I got irritated and said his nose hair needed to be trimmed because they looked so big and I felt disgusted to kiss him when they touched my lip. All right, that's gross. If your nose hair is long enough to touch someone's lips when you kiss them, you need to trim it. I told him he hasn't trimmed his chest hair in at all, and they are touching his neck. God, what is he, Italian? He got offended and isn't talking to me, but I won't apologize. He said I didn't smell bad. Then I told him he is super hairy and he should be mature enough to understand that I am not a porn star to be hairless all the time. Did I take it too far? Though this morning he has trimmed it all. I will touch on that in a second as well. Though though I like chest hair when they are not coming out of your shirt buttons.
Yeah.
Edit. People, do your research. Having pubes doesn't equate to being unhygienic. Oh, good, she brought that up. You have to keep it clean and you are well to go. And at least I don't have back hair as well and as countless hairs all over my body, but I never shamed him for them. Edit 2. I am not going to break up over this unless it becomes a pattern. We will have discussions. We have done many good things for each other over the last 3 years. Now, she brought it up. I'm going to talk on it. Pubic hair is not unhygienic. If you just kind of don't wash it all, yes, it can become unhygienic because bacteria can gather. But, like I said, ladies, your whole area down there is like its own little ecosystem, hair or not. Actually, it's more hygienic to have hair than to not have hair. Not only does the hair help through sex because it adds for lubrication, but there are women out there who say that it does help with stimulation. Why are you laughing?
Because my ferret's trying to bring me his pea. It's like a pea dog stuffed animal. It's like a bunch of peas in a pod, and it's about the same size as him, and he can't get up the ramp.
Got it.
So he's tripping over his own paws and the little dog toy, and it's hilarious.
Now, I want to touch on the fact that he trimmed his chest hair. Ladies, if you tell your man you don't like chest hair, or pubic hair, or underarm hair, or leg hair, and your man loves you and wants to please you, he will shave it. So her just mentioning that it was a little much caused him to trim it. All of it. Be careful what you say. Especially if you don't like, if you're someone who likes chest hair and you tell your man, well, you have too much chest hair, and he shaves it off, you have to wait till it grows back. That's on you.
Oh, there's a Jin right now saying hi.
There's a what?
My ferret.
Ah. See, we got one of your pets to say hello.
Yeah, and Gizmo's been silent meowing at me. Don't know why.
So we have to answer the most important question though. Was she the asshole?
No. I mean, what she kind of did was kind of fair. He scrutinized her.
And she gave it right back.
Exactly.
Like if I say something like that to Ishtar, I expect her to hit me back just as much. But you know, as she already said, Antwon likes his women with either a landing strip or bare. I'm good with both. It's a style choice for me. If you know, I can deal with either. Although I've never been with a woman with like a 70s porn star bush. That might be interesting.
This is...
Like you have to take a weed whacker to it to try and find what you want.
Yeah.
I can tell I am becoming too much for you.
No, you're not. I just got a text message. That's all.
Ah.
I have a teenager. Remember?
You do. All right, I have two more. One of them is very long, and it is titled Clifford the Big Red Corpse.
What the?
And I also have another Am I the Asshole for not inviting my sister to my wedding because she always jokes about sleeping with my fiance.
I kind of want to hear the wedding one first.
Ah, that's because you want to try and get a bingo. I know you. Alright, the ad starts in like 20 seconds, though. I have to wait.
I mean, yeah, and always go on a small tangent of some sort.
I have been going on tangents all night
Yeah?
because you have not shown any TikToks for me to react to, so I've had to.
Season 2 has not had any TikToks. Season 2 is still waiting to know what the hell is going on with TikTok. It is still in limbo.
TikTok is not going anywhere. I can almost guarantee it. But we could still go with Reels or YouTube. Don't
Did you
you?
hear that? What's his bucket? I can't think of who owns Meta now. Mark Zuckerberg might have to sell Instagram because he got it in bad face, and same with WhatsApp.
Well, yeah, because he's got a monopoly. They want to separate the monopoly.
I find
They
it
want
funny.
to. See, the Mask Druid said hit them with the YouTube short brain rot.
Okay,
So I'm
listen.
learning. I'm learning.
TikTok, and then a month later it goes on to Reels, and then a month later it is on YouTube. I do not want to watch 3-month-old TikToks.
Why not? Yeah, but we haven't watched any, so even 3-month-old TikToks would be new to us. I'm not wrong.
Once the whole TikTok thing is gone, I'll bring them back.
I don't.
Until then,
what do you mean gone? They're not getting rid of it.
it's still technically banned.
It's not. It's not banned.
It is.
It
It's
is.
just there's been an extension, some things, and it is legally banned.
We do not deal with legally here on Threads of Truth. We deal with truth and the threads thereof.
Just remember, I love you.
Master Druid says, I mean, I'm perfectly okay without them, but I would replace them with maybe some longer form videos. I enjoyed doing the videos that I do, right? Writing the scripts for them and making fun of people. But I've been thinking about maybe changing things a little bit and doing something different. Do you know what a sovereign citizen is?
Oh God!
You know! Perfect!
Do you... what Master it is referring to is that we used to do Sovereign Citizen Bingo on this channel.
Do you know what a First Amendment auditor is?
Yep.
I have been... So I watch a couple of channels that deal with these people. I'm not saying I'm going to turn my channel into like a Sovset channel because I can't deal with them for long. Like, I can only listen to like 4 videos before I want to just like slam my face through the screen to get them to shut up. Because they're dumb. Oh my God, are they dumb? Like, just, I can't say anything worse than just them being dumb. But I thought I could do stuff like that, or talk. Have you watched them in court? Have you ever watched a Sovset in court? Oh my God! It's enthralling to watch them try and use words they don't understand to ascribe to a legal system that they don't believe in, to then try and weasel their way out of things.
All right, chat. Fine, you win. But, heavy but, we will only do Sovereign Citizen Bingo once a month. The first stream of the month, or the last stream. You pick which one, but it's only once. I'm not doing it every stream again. No.
I didn't say you had to do it.
Yeah, but I know this chat wants it. They keep asking for it.
Yeah, First Amendment auditors do like to be nuisances. Right now, one of the big things right now is auditing, quote unquote, auditing banks. And what they like to do is loiter and film the bank. And then when someone comes out, they ask questions specifically that would trigger someone who has common sense to think, oh, they're casing my bank. Like, what are your office hours? Is your ATM secure? Do you have cameras pointing to your ATM? Where is your vault? Is someone watching your vault? Like, you ask that of someone and they're going to call the police. And then the police come, call them stupid, let them, and then trespass them. I think they should be thrown out on the street on their ass. But that's just me.
Sovereign citizens,
They are. I watch Sovereign Citizen and First Amendment auditors in order to make myself feel smart. If I am ever feeling like I don't understand something or I am feeling stupid, I will watch a Sovereign Citizen. And then suddenly I don't feel so bad anymore. I feel like I have 198 IQ.
yeah.
But we're not talking about that. We're talking about jokes and sleeping with a fiance because Banshee wants a bingo. And I will do my best to attempt. What do we need? We need a lot. Why are you not contributing to this?
All we need is controlling family. Grandbaby calls me mommy, or a mother-in-law ignores child's allergy, and a bot to time somebody out. Or overbearing mother-in-law and mother-in-law ignores his child's allergies. We have potentially a lot of bingos. It just doesn't look it.
Mass Druid has a horrible idea for a segment. I cannot
Oh
wait
no.
to hear this. But while we're waiting to hear about the horrible segment that we probably will ignore and never do anyway, let's read about this. Okay, so I'm getting married in October. Small, chill, nothing crazy. Should be a happy time, right? Except my older sister, 31 female, has this thing where she constantly flirts with my fiance, 29 male, like aggressively. Why are you not capitalizing anything? What is wrong with you? And it's always under the guise of, oh my god, I'm just joking, don't be so sensitive.
Oh no.
First time she met him, dead ass said, sorry for those of you who don't like when I use, millennial slang. Slang. I said
Millennial?
slang.
That's Gen Z.
Whatever. Either slang term works. Dead ass said, wow, you upgraded. I'd let him ruin my life too. In front of me. I laughed it off because I didn't want to seem insecure, but like, what the fuck? Then she started with the if you ever get bored of her, you know who to call comments. Again, in front of me. I told her it was weird and she rolled her eyes and said, I'm too uptight. She's made so many little jabs. I saw him shirtless once. Damn girl, you got lucky. If you die first, I call dibs. Too bad you got to him first. LOL. Like, it never ends. My fiance thinks it's awkward but tries to ignore it. Because he's a decent person. He's not flirtatious back. but he also doesn't really shut it down either. Just gets uncomfortable and laughs nervously. Last weekend was the last straw. We were at my parents' house, and I left to grab something from my car. I came back and heard her saying, I swear I'm not making this up. I mean, if you're having second thoughts, I'm always available. Just kidding. Unless. Like, the unless was real. That's not a joke anymore. That's a goddamn come on. I snapped. Told her she's disgusting and can't come to the wedding. She flipped, cried, told my mom I was being dramatic. Now the whole family's saying I'm ruining the family over a joke. And she's just always been flirty and doesn't mean anything by it. I don't even care if she meant it or not. I just don't want that energy around me when I'm trying to get married. But now it's this whole thing, and I'm apparently the villain for excluding her and making it a bigger deal than it is. Am I the asshole for uninviting her, or is this actually insane? Because at this point, I feel like I'm losing it.
I'm surprised I didn't go no contact with her. I thought that's where it was going.
I mean, if it keeps up, I would go no contact, because there's a difference between, like, first we need to know, does this girl, her sister, have a history of being with married or involved men? If that's a thing, then these are not jokes. If she doesn't, and it's never happened before, and she has always been flirty like this, all right, that's just her personality. There is a difference. Now, I am particularly one to believe that this sister has a type, and that type is unattainable men. Unattainable because they're in a relationship, they don't like her, whatever it is. She wants the men that she can't have. I think the jokes are just subtle hints of flirtation that she wants this man mainly because she can't have him.
I'm betting she also likes to make her sister jealous.
More than likely. Like, she plays something up, she got a big promotion, makes it bigger than it is, or whatever it is.
I'm gonna also call that calling out a family at a family event because they were doing a little gathering thing together and yelled at her sister.
But we still have to answer the question: is she the asshole for this? No, she's not. She's not an asshole.
She's the
Her sister is a bitch.
She's a dumbass for not going contact with her sister.
I mean, I don't necessarily say go no contact. Like, but that takes a lot for me to go no contact. Like, if you tell her
behind the scene than just her hitting on him.
No, I agree with you. Oh god, my avatar is going nuts.
I told you, he's high and drunk.
I have to stay.
His best life.
I have to stay within the webcam.
Let him live his best life.
I think there's more to her than she's saying. Like,
100%.
I honestly think that there has been more said to the fiancé than what she's heard.
Birthday/wedding gone wrong.
No, not wedding gone wrong. Because it didn't go wrong. She just uninvited her. That's not the wedding itself going wrong. That's just the bitch of a sister not being able to be there.
Yeah, well, wouldn't also the family be...
The family's not going to not show up to the wedding. And if they don't, well, that's fucking on them because they're stupid.
Oh, attention-hungry sibling.
That I will give you. I will definitely give you attention
I will
hungry sibling.
say that one Reddit gave us 3 different things. Too bad they weren't anywhere near each other. Next.
But we have one more. I don't know what this is. Not an Am I the Asshole? This is also from Funny Stories. It's Clifford the Big Red Corpse.
I'm still scared.
There is a disclaimer.
Oh God.
Disclaimer. This isn't my own personal story. This came from YouTube user Ram C Child 459. And it's RAMCI Child. Ram C Child. In a comment they made on a video from Huggabees, but I just had to share it. What is Huggabees? Hugbees, not Huggabees, Hugbees, Huggbees.
Read it.
All right. You are getting demanding. All right. When I was 13 years old, my local church was holding a fundraiser event, and it involved a really big pre-owned book sale to promote the massive amount of children's books they were desperately trying to get rid of. Someone rented a cheap, well-worn Clifford mascot costume. I don't like where this is going already. The fabric in the joints had rubbed away, and the ears on the headpiece looked like they were rotting off. There was some troubling stains on the ass of the suit, and it certainly smelled like someone had shit themselves before dying inside of it. That is a description.
That is. That's why I checked OP needs therapy, because everybody needs therapy after seeing that.
One of the high school choir boys had, at the overbearing pressure of his mom, volunteered to wear the suit for the event. I am
Not
so
mother-in-law,
sorry.
But I'm gonna check it anyways.
No, you can't keep clicking things just because you want a bingo.
No, but that's an overbearing mom.
No, he's not overbearing. Well, okay. It said at the overbearing pressure. I will give it to you this one time. One.
Oh,
That's all you get.
Oh, I can tell you I'm not going to get a bingo because of what's needed. So,
Where was I? On the day of the fundraiser, he purposely made himself throw up by drinking 5 liters of Dr. Pepper in 20 minutes.
oh no.
Which convinced the adults he was too sick to play the role of Clifford.
Oh no.
He will never drink Dr. Pepper again. Ever.
Oh,
The priests went to each volunteer, begging them to do it, and were only met with very firm no's. Then one of them came to me, a tiny 8th grade girl who was just trying to meet the minimum 10 hours of volunteering needed for my Catholic school to pass me for the year. Not only did the priest offer to sign my volunteer sheet and fully fill it out, thus completing my requirements when I had done maybe 2 hours of volunteering total, but he also handed me a $20 bill and said, Jesus, fucking hell. I need a drink before I read this one. Good fucking God.
ironic, see.
Jesus suffered for you so you can tough this out for some little kids.
What religion trauma? I want to double check this one.
The worst worst pain I ever experienced in my life was when I was 21 and my appendix ruptured, which also caused some cysts on my ovaries to burst as well. I hold on. I passed out several times from the pain on the way to the hospital.
Yeah.
And when I came to after the emergency surgery, one of the nurses smiled at me and said, "Well, honey, you just experienced a pain worse than natural childbirth." When I tell you I would rather have my rotten appendix violently shoved back in my body and have it removed all over again than ever wear that Clifford suit again, I mean it. The stench inside the mascot head made me feel like I was in that scene of Spirited Away when the gross mud spirit slops, that's a good word, his way through the bathhouse, and the smell was so bad that it spoiled food. My eyes burned, the saliva in my mouth dried up, and the heat from my own breath made it stick to my pores. I that's awful. Inside that suit, I realized that God was either dead or a cruel creator. Because no I'm going to take a drink to that one in your honor. Because no loving God would allow something as foul as that Clifford suit to exist. I ended up sitting for most of the hour-long commitment because I easily became dizzy while standing. I was told to act like a Disney mascot, waving happily and moving with excitement to welcome the little kids over to the books. All I did was sit in a small chair, staring straight ahead with my paw-gloved hands set on my knees, desperately grasping to hold on to whatever bits of reality I could. I wish I could say I blacked out for most of it. I really wish I did. But no. I remember almost every minute I spent in that sticky, red-colored fursuit. The worst part about it is that every child that came by was terrified of Clifford, the decaying corpse. One mother really tried to entice her toddler to get a picture with me, but the kid screamed like he was being flayed alive when he was pushed towards me. I don't blame him. I don't blame any of the kids for being scared. It was a scary costume. I was scared while wearing it. I wondered if the kids sensed my fear.
Maybe.
I had nightmares about being trapped in that suit, or the suit coming to life and hunting me down for at least a month afterwards. The only small positive to come from it was that the older high school volunteer kids had a weird kind of respect for me from then on. One of them said I reminded him of his uncle who served in Vietnam. I understand why.
I, poor dude.
Girl, not dude.
Dude is a gender neutral pronoun.
I know it's a gender neutral term, but I want to point out that this was a young woman who a priest badgered,
Religion trauma is real in this one.
religiously cajoled, spiritually harnessed to get her into the suit. Ishtar, you are evil for sending that story. I can taste the suit.
We need another story just for
I
palate cleanser.
I don't have any more. You have to come up with them. That, and I don't think I can actually get up without falling over right now.
We only have 5 minutes left.
You almost had a bingo.
I'm more upset with the fact that I have a hole in the marks than lack of a bingo.
You have a hole in the what?
Right here.
What does it say? Nanny? What does that say?
Nosy coworker or neighbor.
Oh.
But all the marks are around it. I am more annoyed by that.
All right, I think we need to end the stream.
Yeah, especially since the ad starts when we actually supposed to end.
So I should probably do this outro. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for joining us for Threads of Truth. My name, of course, is Antwon, and I am the co-host of the wonderful, the sultry, the savory. Are you savory?
I don't know.
What other good word? What word did I use before when I said you were showing your shoulders?
I don't remember. I am too academically burnt out to think of words.
You are no you are no help.
Sorry.
I hope you all have enjoyed the show, enjoyed the torment, enjoyed the inebriation, and we hope to see you all next time, whenever that is, for Sovereign Citizen Bingo. I think. Maybe. That and the Cowboys.
All right, chat.
Have a good night, everyone.
Bye.
Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you, never gonna make you cry, never gonna say goodbye, never gonna tell a lie and hurt you. I'm never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down, never gonna run around and desert you.
No, no, no! You're not listening to this! No! No! Fucking no! I'm not bloody... I'm not listening to this. I'm not.